what the sign is as you're factoring?
No, does it have to be negative or positive?
No. It's going to be whatever sign you put in the box. Okay. The second thing we're going to look at, oh, I know, so much. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is solving by graphing and then using the quadratic formula. And we've got to get this in today. Hopefully we'll get everything in. When you look at a function that is something like y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3, there are other ways to solve things other than factoring. In this case, well, this isn't a good example because you could factor it, but let's pretend you could. So this you can also see as this. This is function notation. It means the same thing. This is called function notation, but you may see this in a standardized test, or you may see it next year, but it means the same thing as your result. The function of x is that x gets squared, and then 2x is taken from it, and then 3 is subtracted from that. That's all that means. It's the same thing as y.
Wait, is this going to be on the exam?
No. You're not going to see this notation, but you will see it in the book, and you'll see it on tests, and you'll see it other places, and we've seen it in chapter 3, I think it was. So all we have to be concerned with in this case, if you see graph, or if you see find the vertex, or find the roots, we're going to start with the beginning of the quadratic formula. So we're going to start with naming A, B, and C, because we need to use those.
So this is the unit of
This is, you will not see this. I haven't put one of these in. But you could see it. You will see it going forward. So I want to make sure you understand that both ways you see that quadratic. So, okay, here we go. So now, so the x coordinate of the vertex, worth. It was a good goal yesterday. I'm trying to wake up. Okay. I'll have to edit that name out. Okay. You need to pay attention to this, because this will be on the exam. You need to find vertexes, you need to create a table of values, and you need to find the roots. So, x as a vertex, this is the formula here. It's the opposite of b over 2a. You need 2 coordinates for the vertex, so you're not done with x. We talked about this yesterday. So x of the vertex, opposite of b over 2a. What is the opposite of b? 2. B is negative 2, the opposite is positive 2. What's 2 times a? 2. 2 times 1 is 2. So in this case, our x-coordinate is 1. We don't know where else the order pair is going to be, other than we're going to go to the left one. We don't know how far up or down to go yet. To find the y at the vertex, you plug it in. So we're going to plug in a 1 in this equation that we're given everywhere there is an x. And so you have 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. When you simplify that, you do your exponents first, your multiplication second, and your subtraction left to right. So you have 1 minus 2 minus 3. 1 minus 2 is down to negative 1. Take another 3 away, we're at negative 4.
That's what mine.
So now you have a vertex, because you have an x and a y. So your vertex is 1, negative 4.
How do you even do this with the vertex and just like place on it?
The vertex is the peak. It's the peak when you're going up, or it's the valley when your graph is going this way. So it's a maximum or a minimum.
Will you tell us to find the vertex?
Yes. You'll have to find the vertex. You'll also need to find the vertex when it says graph. Because there's no other way to graph but to start in the middle. And the middle of your parabola is the vertex.
Okay.
So if it says graph the function, and you see an x squared, your first step is to find the vertex. Once you find the vertex, you need to find some other points, because that's not going to help you draw that. 1, negative 4 is not a picture of a parabola, is it?
Is that when
That's only 1 point. So
then we plug this
your
in.
table of values goes here, and you're going to create, and I've actually, on the exam, I've actually created your table for you to fill in. There's a table there. You will know to create a table of values because there'll be a table right there with something that looks like this written on the side.
Oh.
So don't forget that the vertex goes in the middle. You can't forget that one. You cannot forget. The vertex goes in the middle because it's the middle of your parabola. Parabola is symmetrical, so the vertex is in the middle, whether it's at the minimum or whether it's at the maximum. Whether you're throwing the ball up and seeing how high it's going to get. This is 1, -4. So all you have to do is think of your number line and what 2 integers are to the left of 1, or what 3 integers. So you're just going to go backwards.
0,
0, -1, -2, and then you go forward. 2, 3, 4. It's centered on this. As long as you're going to the left and the right by the same amount, your graph should be symmetrical. Your ordered pairs should match up with the line. Because as I go to the left and the right, my height stays the same.
Can't you just like plug that in?
If you plug it in, you'll come out with a true statement. If you plug in -4 for y and 1 for x, you'll end up with -4 equals -4. The only thing, you need more points than that. Remember, a function is an input and an output. You need to plug something in to get something out. So you need to plug some different things in to get the rest of the picture. And so we're plugging in 0. That's easy to plug in there. But plug in 0 in there, I just end up with -3.
Yeah, but if you like plug that in and then hit second graph.
Yes, you can graph it on your calculator. You can hit y equals on your calculator and plug that in. And you're going to find it, but you need to create the table on the exam. If you plug 2, use your calculator. You plug 2 in, hit 2 squared minus 2 times 2 minus 3. And remember, that second enter button brings you back to your last entry, and you can go in and edit it. So you can change all those input values by just going in to the last expression in your calculator and entering those numbers in there. And so if you plug this in, you're going to end up with -3. What happens though, we're getting closer, we're going up, right? We start at -4 and we're going up. If it keeps going up, what's eventually going to happen? It's going to cross what critical point? The x-axis. That's your root. So watch what happens. Let's plug -1 in. -1, pick up your calculator and make sure you're putting parentheses around the negative. It has to be -1 with the square on the outside. -1 squared minus 2 times -1 minus 3. You can use your calculator to do that quickly. You can do it without the calculator, but just remember -1 squared will always be positive. 1 plus 2 is 3 minus 3. 3 minus 3.
0.
Thank you. 0. And then if you plug it in again with the 3, you should also get a 0 because it's symmetrical. And if you plug in 3, 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. These are your roots. This is very important when you're doing the question on the exam. This is one root, or 0, or x-intercept. They all mean the same thing. It's where y equals 0. This is another root. So your roots, but the root is the x value. Your root is the x value. It means your x-intercept. So what is x when this hits the x-axis? -1. I know you're all trying to get that into your calculator. X equals -1 or 3.
So when you're going to graph this, you start with 1 before.
You start with your vertex. When you graph it, you start with your vertex. The root is where your graph hits the x-axis. It's where the ball leaves the ground and where it hits the ground again. So you can calculate what that point is, what that ground zero is.
So a root has to, have a y, or like a y coordinate of 0?
Yes. A root has a y coordinate of 0. That's what you're trying to find. And that's why in all of chapter 9, we set everything equal to 0 when we solved it by factoring. Because we're trying to find out at what point is that function equal to 0. That's the root. That's the solution. That's the 0. They all mean the same thing.
Okay. I put in -1 like twice and I got -2, but is it because I didn't put
Yes, you have to wrap your -1 in parentheses. Because your calculator will look at this, it'll do the exponent, and then it'll look at the negative key as multiplying.
Okay.
And it'll do it second. So be careful with that. All right. Let's look at something. We have to cover one more thing with the quadratics, which is the quadratic formula, before we're done. You have to use the quadratic formula on the exam.
Wait.
Given
For this, what will it tell you to do on the exam?
solve by graphing. You'll see the table in front of you. Tell where the root